There you are. Good morning. How you doing? It's a big reveal, that, isn't it? I love that reveal. It's just hitting 9:30 right now, actually, and it's Monday, 17th of June, 2019. Hope you had a great weekend. Another miserable old weekend weather-wise here in the northwest. Sadly, brutal the weather. In fact, it's just as bad today as it's been for the last couple of weeks. It is horrendous out there. It is miserable out there. And I'm not going to waste too much more time talking about the weather. I'm just going to say good morning to Cokebell and to Little Wing in Haywood, Monkeytown in Haywood, in cloudy Manchester. Good morning. Good morning to Terry Hayes. How you doing, Terry? And to Jerome Tolliver and to Wide Awake Radio. Morning, mate. New week, new horizons. Absolutely right. To Olivia Cairo. How you doing, Olivia? Luke Griffin. To Chris Brown in Durham as well. How you doing, Chris? And I believe we heard from Danny. How you doing, Danny? John Parsons, who's not too far away. How you doing, John? And we've heard from someone in New Zealand as well, Peter Rouse, who's in freezing cold New Zealand this morning. Gail is in Cornwall. And yeah, get the kettle on if it's cold, says Cokebell there. Good morning to John and Sarah. And to Patricia Braunschweiler not from Zurich, of course, but is in Zurich. How you doing, Patricia? Good morning to you. And to Jennifer Garcia in Florida, across the pond where it's raining. To Sean Mack, to Danny Coyle, to Alex Dunn, highly unlikely, to Patrick, to Alan, to Samantha Jordan. How you doing, Samantha? Alan White, that I mentioned, Mega Tree Rat as well. It's good to be alive. I've gotten into the habit of saying that to people. Morning to Natalie Stacey, another musician. How you doing, Natalie? And a landlady to boot as well. Yeah. I hope this is working, by the way, and I hope it's streaming without any buffering or any of that, but there you go. And Jean-Ann Crowley, the one and only, is waving from Cleggan there. I guess it's wet and windy in Cleggan as well, Jean-Ann. And to Randy Garcia, good morning. Good morning. Yeah, had a good old weekend. Went to my local social club yesterday. Now, anybody who knows me will know that I'm one of the bones of contention that I've had for a long time about the UK and Ireland. One of the things that's really upset me, genuinely upset me, is how local pubs have disappeared up and down the country. Not just here, but in my own country as well. I think pubs, and it's not about drinking and getting pissed, pubs are very important in any community because they get people out and they get people together. Whether it's to play a few games of darts, whether it's to play cards, whether it's just to have a chat, whether it's to organise social outings and bus trips, and whether it's to support the local football teams, boys and girls and all of that. Pubs are very important. But there's been an agenda. Again, this agenda that we keep talking about, the agenda with a capital A. But one of the things that those who would control every aspect of our lives were hell-bent on doing over the last 2 decades particularly was kind of disconnecting us from one another. And one of the ways they went after that and attacked that particular agenda was to make life very, very difficult for pubs, publicans, landlords and landladies. And I think I did a whole programme on this one miserable winter's night a couple of years ago when a guest was taken ill and couldn't do an hour with me. I spent an hour ranting about this and it meant something to some of you. But there's a lovely social club near me and it's run by the community. And it only opens from Thursday till Sunday. And it's open, for a few hours in the evening. But on Saturday and Sunday, it's open for all afternoon and all evening. And I showed my face there for the first time yesterday. When I say I showed my face, it's actually run by a very good friend of mine. By a very good friend's dad runs it. And I rocked up there yesterday afternoon with Caroline. And there was quite a few locals in there of all ages. Older men, older women, sitting there having a pint, watching a bit of golf, but mostly chatting across the room about various things. And to be honest with you, I was very emotional. It was just a fantastic couple of hours. And I grew up in a place called Ballybeg in Waterford City, and we had a couple of local pubs there. Well, we had a pub in Ballybeg, and then we had pubs just outside Ballybeg, where in Lisduggan in Waterford, where people would come working people would come, watch a bit of horse race and have a chat, get out and socialise. And I know it was great to do that yesterday. I'm looking forward to spending more time in there with my neighbours. And that's the thing, isn't it? With my neighbours. Anyway, this nonsense is the newspaper review show. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to have a look at a few papers. Did you watch the Channel 4 debate last night, did you? Jean Ann is telling me in Cleggan, of course, which is rural, that the local pubs are essential down here and we get it. Absolutely right they are. Absolutely right they are, Jean Ann. Glenn has sent a message saying isolationism is the agenda. Yes, to keep people away from one another. And would you believe there is a story in the press today, widely covered by the press, about us, us being less social than ever, coincidentally. So I'm going to talk about that in a minute briefly. Gail says in Cornwall we have 2 pubs left and both are thriving. Caroline and myself holidayed in Falmouth last summer, didn't we? For a week, and we were absolutely thrilled down there in Cornwall to see every couple of miles or even less, much less, lovely local pubs run by local people, and they were full with local people shooting the breeze. You know, you could go to your local pub years ago and you could get a job. I don't mean in the local pub. This is why pubs were... I'm not going to start on a rant now because I'll never stop, right? But you could go... I came from a very difficult home. My background is very difficult. And when my mother eventually split up from the man that I knew as my father, she was broke. She had nothing. This is when I was in my late teens. And I was at school. And I was able to go to my local pub and I was able to get a job, not in the pub, but I was able to put it around that I needed a job because we were broke, that I was able-bodied, reliable, and I would never let anybody down. And I was given work. You know, I was given jobs here and there, a bit of odd jobs, a little bit of running around, a little bit of labouring. And I was able to do it because of the local pub, right? Vital. Anyway, I'm going to shut up about it. Hi to Jack, who's in Tassie, Australia. How you, Jack? And to Josh Ratcliffe, social clubs. Well, that's what it is, Josh. My local pub isn't a pub, it's a social club run by the community. And it's healthy and it's thriving and it's doing well. It's in the black. It used to be in the red, but it's in the black now. The drinks are cheap and cheerful and the company is great. You can't beat it. Right, let's have a look at the papers. I'll come back to the comments in a minute. Weatherspoons have destroyed the local pubs. We know, they certainly have. Right then, this is the newspaper review show. Let me remind you, because I know that people can accidentally find their way in here. I know this. My radio show is live every Monday to Thursday at 5 p.m. UK time on my website, and it is live on Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. UK time as well. All right. Let's start with the Metro. Bust up on Brexit but no Boris. So there's a picture of Dominic Raab. Channel 4 last night held the first of some debates that have been organised for the candidates to be leader of the Labour Party. It was hosted by Krishnan Guru Murthy, and he's gotten panned in the press today because apparently he didn't do a very good job. The debate was, I suppose, the most significant thing about the debate was Johnson didn't appear. The reason Johnson didn't appear, allegedly, is because he's got such a lead in the polling. I mean, after the first round of votes by the parliamentary party, he annihilated the field. Johnson is apparently waiting till some more candidates are eliminated. There is another debate tomorrow night on television. It might be the BBC, I think it is. And apparently Johnson will appear in that. That's the Metro. Apparently, it got very testy at times, this particular debate. I didn't watch it. It would be fair for you to say, how could a alleged journalist not watch the debate? I couldn't be arsed, really, because there isn't anything that's going to be said at a debate like that we haven't heard before. Why wasn't Johnson there? Well, he wasn't there, again, because he said he'll wait until there are some more eliminations. According to the Mail today, the Daily Mail, Johnson was tucked up at home getting deliveries from 2 different takeaways. There you are. I told you this was rubbish, didn't I? I told you yesterday. That's in the Daily Mail, he was getting takeaways. What's in The Guardian today? The Guardian. More about the debate and what they were saying in this debate. Basically, they were talking about business and, lifting people out of taxation, all the usual Tory stuff in this debate. Allegedly, because I didn't watch it. There's coverage of Hong Kong on the front of The Guardian, and there's a story about Russia and UK, the attempt to build a better relationship between the two countries in The Guardian today. Let's have a look at Murdoch's Times, if we can. Jesus. Told you, didn't I? I told you. I warned you even. I warned you. Let me do that again. Yeah, let's have a look at the Times then. Leadership contenders clash over no deal Brexit. Apparently, at one point in this debate, the former Brexit Secretary Dominic Raab attacked Michael Gove, the Environment Secretary, and said that Gove didn't have the stomach to take on the European Union and that Gove was going to capitulate if he became Prime Minister. Apparently, Raab said to Gove that Gove has already declared that he would seek another extension beyond October 31st, and apparently Michael Gove didn't take that well, and it got a little bit testy. Now, what's interesting this morning is it's been widely reported this morning that the Health Secretary Matt Hancock, who pulled out of the race a couple of days ago, he's endorsed Boris Johnson, and some of the political correspondents for the breakfast television and radio programmes are saying this is very significant for Johnson. So Matt Hancock has come out and endorsed Boris Johnson, whom, as I said already, I think a few times, is looking very much like a shoe-in, barring a scandal. Now, he writes in the Daily Telegraph, does Johnson. He's got a regular column, of course. He is a columnist, and he's promising that by the middle of the next decade, every home in the UK will have super fast broadband. I didn't read this article yet, but I'm wondering, is there talk of 5G, of course, which is coming to Manchester? And I do have my sources, as you know. I've got my sources in various parts of the country, including this city. We have yet to determine exactly which part of Manchester, because Manchester is a vast space. Greater Manchester. Where is it going to be trialled here? I don't know, but I'm working very hard to try and find out. I'm sure somebody will beat me to it, but I'd love to know exactly where they want to bring the 5G antennae. Yeah. So he's promising, I'll bring all this super fast broadband everywhere. He doesn't have to promise that, because that agenda is out of his hands. It's being organised and it's being rolled out by somebody else, of course. So that's the Telegraph today. Anything else on that? There was there? Well, on the debate, it's interesting. I said to you that Krishnan Guru Murthy, apologies if I've pronounced his name wrong, he's the presenter for Channel 4 News, who chaired the debate last night on Channel 4. He's getting hammered for bias. It's in the Telegraph and many other newspapers this morning, the online papers. Murthy, there he is front and centre, is being accused of marginalising Dominic Raab. Raab is the no-deal Brexiteer, or at least he's saying that. Raab is saying that he wouldn't accept the current deal from the European Union, and that if he couldn't get a better one, and remember the European Union has said there will not be a better one, Raab is saying if I couldn't do better, I'd leave, I would hop it with no deal. And the newspapers, particularly the Telegraph today, Christopher Hope in the Telegraph saying that this guy Murthy marginalised Dominic Raab and made it very difficult for Raab to answer questions and gave him less time to answer questions. Less time, apparently. There you are. Raab's answers were timed at 10 minutes, 2 seconds in total. Far behind Sajid Javid, Rory Stewart and Michael Gove. So, a mainstream media organisation showing bias in favour of the European Union, you could have knocked me down with a feather. Listen, that's the Telegraph's view. I didn't see the debate, so I can't endorse that. But if it is true, we're hardly surprised. Are we? Are we? Should we go back to the messages? Let's see. Super fast broadband for everyone. Cherry says Vodafone says it's using 5G in Salford already. Can you point me in the direction of a link there, Cherry, please? I'd like to see that for myself. I have been asking, because obviously one of the places you might imagine in Greater Manchester, one of the places that might have been mooted or might have been put forward, I thought would have been Salford. So I don't know. Anyway, yes. Josh says Bristol will be one of the first places. Yes, I think you might very well be right. Okay. Hi to Charlie Silverman. How you doing, Charlie? And I'm going to carry on. I'm going to rock on because I have so much to do. I try to keep this to 30 minutes or thereabouts. Where are we then? Right, we did we do the star? We didn't. Let's have a look at the star. Today's star. All right, here it is. Great Britain. This is interesting. Apparently, cheese is going to solve the country's energy crisis. And it is a byproduct of the manufacture of cheese can be turned into gas. Fair enough. News to me, and it's in the Star. I didn't read that story. I didn't have time to read all the stories this morning. I've read quite a bit, but yes, a byproduct of the process of making cheese could be turned into gas, which will help save the planet. There you are. All right. That's on the Star. What's in the Daily Mail then? The Daily Mail. Cannabis laws up in smoke. This is interesting. The Daily Mail has done a lot of research and it's covered this story, has been talking about this story for quite a while. The Mail is saying that 9 in 10 users and growers are not being charged when they're being found out. They're being warned. And because police forces are tapping people on the shoulder, found to be growing a bit of ganja and found to be smoking a bit, and they're being tapped on the shoulder and they're being asked not to do it, the Daily Mail is saying, well, this is kind of unofficial legalisation. And the cannabis laws are basically a joke because people who use and people who grow a couple of plants for themselves are not being prosecuted. Excuse me. It isn't in anybody's interest to prosecute people for smoking cannabis. And it's not in anybody's interest to prosecute people for growing some cannabis. Is it? Right? It's not in the public interest. For a start, it's fairly harmless. Somebody smoking a bit of weed or using it or growing a plant and using it to treat chronic pain or whatever. It cannot be in the public interest to prosecute people. The enormous expense incurred by the taxpayer when you take people to court for something as benign as smoking cannabis. So I would have thought the Daily Mail at this stage, seeing what's gone on in America and around Europe, would be saying, right, let's put policing resources where they're needed, like tackling violence, which is escalating in inner cities, in London and other places, Birmingham as well, rather than get your knickers in a twist about the fact that 9 in 10 users and growers are let off with a warning. Shouldn't even be warning him. What harm are you doing? Anyway, I've never smoked it, but I certainly have no business. It's none of my business what other people do, as long as it doesn't affect me. Simple as that. What's in the Express? Rivals gang up to stop Boris. Yeah. It's about the TV debate. Just let's leave that there, shall we? The I paper. May. Told you this yesterday. May, who'll be gone in a couple of weeks, is gone really, is just hanging on while they choose another leader. May is going to leave a 27 billion windfall for schools and for mental health in schools as well. That's very important. We'll talk about that in a second. And that's going to be her legacy. And it's been reported that by doing that, May will leave no money, or little or no money, for her successor. So if Johnson gets in, there won't be very much money in the coffers for Johnson to do anything with any policies around whatever the bloody hell he might want to do stuff, right? So that's in the I paper. Let's leave that there. The Mirror today. Again, bear with me. Let's try the Mirror. Chicken Boris. Self-explanatory. Didn't show up, so he's a chicken. I think he's being a bit strategic, really. And the Sun. Daft as a brush. This is funny, this. This is the health and safety executive telling a carpenter who's very well known for making furniture for wealthy people that he's not allowed to use a broom because it's unhealthy. And they've ordered him to use a Hoover in his workshop as well. Couldn't make it up. It's also been covered in the Daily Mail. Furniture maker to Theresa May and to Adele. Rolling in the deep. And other celebrities, he's told, use a broom because it's a health hazard if you don't. And he's properly pissed off. This is Michael Northcroft, who makes a very good living making bespoke furniture for the wealthy, don't you know, in London. And they buy nice pieces off him. And the HSE turned up, spent a couple of days looking at his practices, what he was doing, and said to him, you've got to get an industrial vacuum cleaner and you've got to spend $2,000 on it. Because people can't breathe in the wood chip dust because it's unhealthy. 'Tis mad, isn't it? Is that nanny stating or nanny state behaviour that's gone from the sublime to the utterly ridiculous? Right? He said, I'm just not going to do it. They can go and jump. I'll carry on doing what I normally do. And mad, yeah. We live in a mad world, don't we? We live in a lunatic asylum. Let's get rid of those. Let's get rid of those and let's get on to one or two of the stories inside these papers. It is 9 minutes to 10 on Monday, the 17th of June, 2019. This is the Newspaper Review Show with myself, Richie. I had a haircut yesterday, by the way. A bit of a trim of the old beard there as well. Yeah. Looking sharp. Are you sending flowers to yourself again? That's a beautiful French phrase, that. I can't say it in French, but it's lovely. The French say, are you sending flowers to yourself? I am indeed. Here's an interesting one for you in the Telegraph today. It's about a possible forthcoming election. And it's an exclusive in the Telegraph, which is suggesting that Nigel Farage's Brexit party will do a deal with the Conservative Party before the next general election. What's the deal, you ask? Well, the deal is Farage wouldn't put up any Brexit Party candidates against any hard Brexit Conservative candidates. You get it. You get it. And in return, the Conservative Party wouldn't challenge Farage in Labour constituencies in the north of the country. Kind of strategic, isn't it? It's in the Telegraph today. You see, the Brexit Party could agree not to stand against Tory Brexiteer candidates, while the Tories would not fight metropolitan Labour seats in the north of England, where the Brexit Party is strong, because the Brexit Party is strong in the north of England. So this is a exclusive in the Telegraph, which says that there will be an unholy alliance before the next general election. Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage. Now, Neil Sanders of neilsandersmindcontrol.com, bit of a genius, Neil, isn't he? He's been blogging about the rise of the alt-right candidates in politics and how they are supported by a burgeoning and very successful alt-right media. And he's talked about this, has Neil Sanders, on my radio show, and he's a very, very smart fella, I think. And there you go. The Telegraph is ahead of everybody with this story. It's totally unsurprising, really. I mean, I didn't think of it, but it's the sort of thing you could imagine happening. Okay? What's interesting about that is this goon here, Tom Watson, the deputy leader of the Labour Party, he's going to make a speech later today where he's going to demand that his party adopts a firm Remain position. So he's appealing to the millennials in his party and the pro-Remain momentum, group in his party, and he's calling on Jeremy Corbyn today to come out very strongly in support of staying in the European Union and supporting a second referendum. So you will have some sort of alliance between the Brexit Party and the Conservatives, and the Labour Party could conceivably be, and remember now, don't get triggered, I don't support or endorse any of them, they are all the same ultimately, but Labour could be destroyed in the next general election. Remember, membership of the European Union is completely incompatible with socialism or vice versa. Alright? So that's interesting stuff in the Telegraph about the pact, and very interesting in the BBC. Tom Watson going to give a speech today demanding that the party comes out once and for all with a strong pro-Remain manifesto promise. Okay? Okay. This might trigger you a bit. Rail union in push for more female and British, Asian and minority ethnic train drivers. This is the sort of stuff that it's guaranteed to ruin your Monday morning. You're on the train, it's overcrowded. You're going to that job in the city that you can't stand. You're pissed off anyway. You didn't sleep very well Sunday night. And here you are confronted by this in The Guardian and everywhere else this morning. Unions want to get more black, Asian and minority ethnic train drivers because you don't have enough of them. And you can see here the Train Drivers Union, which is ASLEF, said just 6.5% of drivers in England, Wales and Scotland were women. 8% were from a minority ethnic background. And 15% were under 35. So white, middle-aged train drivers is a major problem. And we need to get more black, Pakistani, Indian, Sikh and women train drivers. We just have to. The General Secretary of ASLEF, Mick Whelan, said he wanted to see fewer people who look like me driving trains. After 35 years in the industry, he said he was well aware how many train drivers were middle-aged male and white. Do I have to say any more about that? Where this is going? How often have we talked about positive discrimination on the programme, on the radio programme? It is absolutely insane. And yet there's no pushback against this. Nobody is standing up to it. Nobody. Not even in the allegedly right-wing newspapers. Nobody is saying, hang on a second, this is ridiculous. Let whomever wants to apply for the job of a train engineer and rigorously test them, because it's a very serious responsibility driving a train. And regardless of what they look like, just put the best fucking train drivers in the trains. Full stop. Yeah, that's in The Guardian, of course. No criticism of it. No criticism of it in The Guardian. Big story. Also in The Guardian, but it's covered everywhere. Teachers are going to be trained to spot mental health issues early. Heather Stewart and Dennis Campbell in The Guardian. I've no idea if teachers' unions are railing back or standing up against this madness where people are being encouraged to have mental health problems and to wear your mental health problems with a badge of honour and to go on to social media and to tell the world that doesn't give a shit that you have mental health problems so that you can get a round of applause from strangers on Twitter who tell you how brave and how courageous you are to talk about your mental health problems. And this morning, Enda Brady on Sky News was interviewing very young and seemingly healthy, vibrant young men and women, all of them saying that they struggled for years with their mental health problems and they didn't get any support from their schools. Now they're going to train teachers as part of these prevention initiatives. Okay? All these ideas emerge from lobby groups connected to big pharmaceutical companies. You've all got to have a mental health problem. We all must do. We are being told Peter Andre, Z-list celebrity, dreadful singer, is in the papers today talking about how he couldn't cope with his mental health problems. Every time you open a newspaper, there is a celebrity or a former sportsman or woman telling you about their fucking mental health problems. And I couldn't cope, and we need to talk about this stuff more. We need to go on social media and tell people more. I don't want to hear it. I couldn't give a shit. Not interested. Because there's nothing wrong with you. You had a bit of stress at work. You had a bereavement. Your missus kicked you out. These are life problems. We are infantilizing ourselves. This is a kind of acquiescence of sorts to the state and the state apparatuses. It's kind of prostration and saying, yes, we are useless, vulnerable people. Yes, we all have problems. Yes, yes, yes. Now, let's talk it out with our employers. Let's talk it out on social media. Let's talk it out. Let's admit that we're all mentally ill. I've even heard people say that during these debates. We're all mentally ill, you know. We all suffer with mental health problems. We need to admit it. We need to be more honest and courageous and admit that we've got mental health problems. Madness. I mean, this is madness. Theresa May, again, this is the legacy. And rethinking how we tackle mental health. Accepting that most of us suffer with mental health. And we have to come forward to talk about it. There's a million issues there. You know, your lack of privacy. You know, having to share your medical history with your employers. Having to face maybe weekly or monthly sit-downs with your employers. Asking you about your mental health. And it's mad. It's beyond mad. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. But we saw this coming, and again, we just get rid of all that there. You are going to hear much more about this going forward. Much more of this notion that we've all got mental health problems and we need to talk about it more. And I'm going to leave you with this today. It's 2 minutes past 10. Half of Britons socialise with family and friends at most once a month. This obviously connects to what we talked about earlier about pubs and social clubs. This is an annual well-being survey which is sponsored by Sainsbury's, ironically, Living Well Index. And it says that half of Britons socialise with family and friends only once a month or less. The lack of human interaction is causing the nation's sense of well-being to dwindle. Of course it is. Why wouldn't it? 8,000 Britons were surveyed on everything from their sex lives, quality of sleep, finances, relationships and jobs, with an average well-being score of 60 out of 100. And it goes on to describe how 17.5% of those surveyed only socialised with their family and friends once a month. Because they are being engineered. They are being socially engineered to not socialise with people, to not spend time with real people, to not press the flesh with real people, to not be in the presence of real people, but to spend their time socially on the internet, on their Facebook page or on their Twitter account or whatever. They're being engineered that way. So none of this is a surprise. And equally, it comes as no surprise that it has a profoundly negative effect on our sense of well-being and our emotional and spiritual development. Of course, because we're meant to be together, people. We are social creatures. We are social animals. We are meant to spend time with one another, not looking at phones, not looking at computers. Together, looking at one another, having a chat, having a cup of tea, going for walks, meeting up. But we're being engineered not to be like that. And again, not news to you, not something we haven't discussed 1,000 times before. So hi to Mershon Golden Bank, hi to Gabriel Swift. And Theresa, how you doing, Theresa? To Millie M. To Naroda, how you doing, Naroda? To Shane Tad, how you doing, Shane? To Chris Morell, how you doing, Chris? To Mick as well, to Data Footprint as well. Thanks to all of you for sending your messages on the chat today. Look, that was it for Monday's newspaper review. I'm going to do one and prepare for the radio show later on. I'm hoping the radio show will be fine. It's going to be Thursday before I've got a secure internet connection in terms of downloading. And I've got a really interesting guest lined up for today's programme. His name is Eric Gajewski, and I really want to talk with him, and he's booked in. So I'll be with you at 5 p.m. UK time. Usual channels, of course. Let's hope there are no technical issues, and we'll crack on with that. Lots going on in the house this week, but it'll be done by the end of the week. And we'll be back to normal by the end of this week, and I'm looking forward to that as well. So join me at 5 p.m. on richieallen.co.uk, Fab Radio 2 in Manchester, and Trigger Warning, as well as TuneIn Radio and everywhere else. Enjoy your Monday. Seems to be brightening up a little bit out there. Might get a few things done then. Speak to you later. It's bye from me. Bye now.